Evening, folks. Brian here. It is Saturday, April 19, 2025. I've been trying to get this video up for the past several days. I think tonight's going to be the night. We'll talk about a number of things. Yes, I have the shirt on. So everything in Scripture, the Planet X timeline, the 3,600-year catastrophe timeline, other prophecies and foretellings, as well as scientific studies, are all coming together. I hope you're beginning to see. Now, much of what's written in the Bible tells us what will happen, but it does not explain or give us an explanation as the cause of these perplexities and events, with the exception of the great, later on in Revelation, the Great Tribulation, which is God's judgment and wrath, which is made very clear why. It will be upon the wicked of the world, upon those who reject God, upon those who reject God in favor for worship of the Antichrist and the beast, who take his mark and worship an image of him. And also, let no man deceive you or misdirect you or give false interpretations or change the timeline. Now, the bowls and the vials, again, it says judgment and wrath during the Great Tribulation, after the great falling away of the people. Now, right now, unfortunately, there's false preachers and false teachers who are giving incorrect information and use the ministry for personal financial gain. As it were, just like when Jesus walked into the temple and started kicking everybody out and throwing the tables all over the place. It's going to happen again to somebody. I was listening to one of these somebodies. You know who I'm talking about. The one who, it doesn't matter how many people died in an event, thousands of people could be dead. And he has to start off, if you don't mind, let me give you a shout out because I want to make some money. You know the guy who has webinars who says, I have pertinent information that's going to affect all of humanity, but I need your MasterCard number. You have to pay me for it. So unfortunately, in a very recent talk, his guest, whom I hope is suffering from a mental decline, mental deficiencies, dementia maybe, because he was talking about the recent solar storm with a suggestion that it was a warning from God. Maybe God is slowly pouring out his bowl of wrath upon the sun, causing these CMEs. What did I just say? It happens in the Great Tribulation. He stated, is it a slower process? After Revelation 8, the fourth angel, how do we know he has not poured out his vial upon the sun? Is it a slower process, he said? Revelation 8 is the great asteroid impact, or as it were, like a great mountain ablaze tossed into the sea. What happened to that? Again, you can't pick and choose a single thing, change the meaning and the timeline. You can't do that. You're going to piss him off. He also thinks that the sun is responsible for the pole flip. He also does not believe in Planet X because, as he stated, he hasn't seen it. So we need to know and to educate ourselves without the over-exaggeration, fear-porn, giving false interpretations and false teachings and teachings for profit. I'm sorry. As for the other guy who says he's been around the world, there's three things he reports on. He is obviously all-knowing in Scripture. So is the devil. Second, all the sciencey stuff. And third, utter nonsense and stupidity. Let's talk about the nonsense. So a year ago, he stated that there was going to be a mass casualty event along the U.S. eastern seaboard in which 70,000 Americans would die very quickly. He said that was going to happen in about 2 weeks last year. He also said that the United States would be struck by 6,000 missiles. Not. A couple of weeks ago, he said that there was going to be a terrorist attack upon the United States. It was going to be far worse than the 9/11 event. It was going to be happening the next day. Not. About 3 weeks ago, with the false ministry for profit, he said that there was going to be millions of lizard-like people crawling out of the ocean when the time is right. Is that in Scripture? Millions of lizard people crawling out of the ocean when the time is right. As for the sciencey stuff, it's not private intel information exclusive to one person. And why would he pick the most dishonest false preacher? All this sciencey stuff, you can find it out yourself as well. The subject of the rising heat, I've been on this for many years before I even heard who this guy is. He feeds you with tidbits and morsels of stuff and leaves you in wonder and awe without giving an explanation. Here's an example. He said to the false preacher, there was going to be 3 asteroids passing Earth, and then they were going to turn around and come back to Earth without giving an explanation. I gave the explanation, suggestion. You don't have to leave people hanging and wondering. If you have the intersection of a planetary system coming into our planetary system, an asteroid is going to get caught up in the gravitational field of one of those bodies. It's going to circle around and then be slingshot back to Earth. Do you remember the Apollo moon missions? Do you remember Apollo 13, the one with the explosion, the oxygen tank? How did they get back? They set a course around the moon, and they used the moon's gravitational effect to slingshot Apollo 13 back to Earth. Why can't you just say that? And this nonsense about sometimes their phone conversations are cut off. Oh, they're listening to us. Oh, we're saying too much. They cut us off. Then they reconnect and they keep on talking about the same subject. You're being played. A lot of other things that he's talked about is also prophecy, man. It's prophecy. It's not privy to anything. As for the current ongoing, I digress in a moment. Have you had your smoothie? Spinach, beet, and strawberries. Now for the current Earth changes, acceleration events, the rising heat. I'm going to go back 2 years, 2023. 2023 was a year of a lot of earthquakes. There were 24 magnitude 7 and above earthquakes. It's the same year of all the fires everywhere. Now, Jesus told his apostles through Matthew 24 and Luke 21 and Mark 13 that the great earthquakes will happen in one place after another and another, and another. At the time when wars and food shortages and pestilence would also be taking place. Together, these events in human history are called the conclusion of the system of things, or the end times. I don't think there's enough talk or emphasis on the great earthquakes in diverse places. It is the events, the conditions, and the attitudes that will mark the conclusion of the system of things. Talking about the earthquakes. So, there's always been earthquakes, but they are widespread in the timeline. In 2004, the 9.1 earthquake that hit Sumatra, 240,000 dead people. 2008, the China earthquake, 7.9, 90,000 dead people. 2010, Haiti earthquake, 300,000 dead earthquake. 2011, the Japan earthquake. Spread years apart. What Jesus is talking about is in one place after another and another and another in diverse places everywhere. On an unprecedented scale that you cannot imagine. So again, this time period is not unique because we've always had earthquakes, but this is not what Jesus is talking about. Now I want to get into one of my favorite scriptures, Luke 21, verse 25 and verse 26. In verse 25, it says that there will be signs in the sun and the earth and the stars, and upon the earth distress and anguish among the nations at the roaring and the tossing of the seas and the changing tides, the surge rolling. Then, in verse 26, it says, man's hearts will be failing him for fear and for looking after that upon which is going to be coming to the earth. For the powers of the heavens will be shaken. So people fainting with fear and foreboding, it is what is coming. And people will be terrified at what they see coming. In anticipation, expectation of something is coming. So first we're given the signs that we're going to be feeling and seeing the roaring and the tossing in the seas, the sloshing of the seas back and forth. Confused, confounded, anguish, and perplexity. We don't know what's going on, but later on we're going to know because we're going to be seeing it coming, and men's hearts are going to be failing them for fear of what they see coming upon the earth. So what causes the roaring and the tossings of the seas? To cause everybody to be in anguish and perplexity, state of confusion, uncertainty. If you introduce a system of bodies coming in, planetary bodies coming in, you're going to have perturbations of the planets, earth wobble effect, the sloshing of the oceans back and forth. The U.S. government realized this when they found Planet X in 1983 and made their formal announcements through the Washington Post and the New York Times, and again in September 1984. And they realized what the effects it's going to be. This is why they came up with the man-made global warming narrative, sea level rise. oceans inundations. And again, in the next verse, we will be expecting something. For looking after those things which are coming upon the earth. But also, you introduce the electromagnetic connection with the outer core of our planet, heating up the outer core. The harder magma which has to rise up through the mantle plumes to the underside, the lithosphere in which the crust and the ocean sit upon, and the two large magmatic provinces in the mantles. Hence all the heat I've been showing you. And the earthquakes along the mid-Atlantic ridges, up to magnitude 7s now. We've never had magnitude 7 on the mid-Atlantic ridge. Large heat spreads at the end of the Indian Ocean fracture zone up to the Arabian Sea and many other places. That's my focus of concentration over quite a few years. I can absolutely tell you it's never been this widespread before. Just in the past 2 years. Very large heat spreads on the west side of Japan in the ocean. Offshore Myanmar on more than one occasion. Last April, then the big earthquake. Many other examples I'll show you. Is the heat rising up to the mantle plumes and the magmatic provinces, heating up the oceans, causing these cyclones and typhoons and hurricanes and destructive weather events, which is only going to continue in intensity and amplitude and frequency, regardless of the time of the year. And finally, the 3,600-year timeline, or 3,650-year timeline, is fascinating. When I see a heat spread in the new area like Somalia and Chad, and I do my research and I check the geological history of the timing, when was the last time there was a major eruption there? Wow, 3,600 years ago approximately. What was that one in California I did the video on? Clear Lake Volcanic Field. 10,950 years ago? Wow, that's like 3,650 years times 3. Please be careful who you listen to and their false teachings. God was not slowly pouring out his bowl of wrath upon the sun that caused these CMEs to give us a warning. Jesus has already done that through his playlist that I just finished describing. In Matthew 24, in Luke 21, in Mark 13. Don't let anybody lead you astray from those teachings and forewarnings. One final thing. Of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, the first is the white horse, who will bring, among other things, deceptions. He is the Antichrist. I remember very clearly a certain person who said he's been around the world. He said, well, I think the rider on the first horse is Jesus. Jesus comes in Revelation 19 on his white horse. Jesus is not the rider of the first of the 4 horses of the apocalypse. Be careful of deceptions and false teachings.